Thanks.
This man holds the keys to one of the biggest logistics businesses in Asia. Karan Adani is the eldest son of Gautam Adani, the Indian billionaire who built a sprawling infrastructure empire that's pivotal to the country's economic ambitions. He's been handed the reins to some of the most important businesses for the Adani Group, including ports. Karan is visiting the Mundra port in India's Gujarat, the home state of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, whose policy priorities the Adani Group has closely tracked as part of its business strategy. Mundra is where it all started for the group, which is now India's biggest private operator of ports. Maintaining and building on that growth will be a key challenge for Karan. He is one of the 4 family members handpicked to run big chunks of the Adani empire as part of his father's succession plan. However, the firm's meteoric rise has been overshadowed by accusations it's benefited from cronyism. It also took a multi-billion-dollar hit from the explosive Hindenburg research report, with a short seller claiming the Adanis engaged in fraud and stock manipulation, allegations that they've denied. Bloomberg's Anto Antony sat down with Karan Adani for an exclusive interview and asked him about the challenges ahead.
The group's rise has been closely linked to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, but at the same time you are working in several other states with other governments also. How do you do the balancing act there?
Being close to a political party does not necessarily mean that you get the work. You get the work because you are able to deliver, you are competitive in a market, and we have run it in a most efficient manner. You don't have these 3 things. There's no point being close to any political party, because today's India is no more about giving favors. It is all about whether you're competitive in the landscape or not.
Many of the investments which the group is making, whether it's in Sri Lanka or Israel, the way in which many analysts are seeing it is like you are playing a strategic role for the government of India to facilitate certain trade routes. Now, as a group, you balance the requirement to serve a strategic need and at the same time maximize profit as a publicly traded company.
So I think certain positions that we are taking is also strategic for us as a company, because going back, we do see that there's going to be continuous disruption. And we look at where are the major trade routes from India and how do we minimize those disruptions by having a position over there. So that is the first fundamental one. And second is obviously if you look at from a geopolitical perspective, yes, India has certain geopolitical priorities, but that doesn't mean that those priorities are companies' priorities. We take our individual assessment. End of the day, we look at risks, we look at profitability, and for us, family is also one of the largest shareholders. So we have to do justice to the family as well, apart from the minority shareholder, because end of the day, all the investments that we are making, whether it is in power or whether it is in ports, these are investments which have to give returns on a standalone basis.
Adani Group is known for chasing scale. What would be the global ambition like as you oversee the business over the next couple of years?
I would not say we have a global ambition. I think the ambition is by 2030 we want to be handling at least 1 billion ton of volume, predominantly coming out of India, because as India is going to grow, the trade is going to grow, and obviously and we are in the right position to take that sort of growth. I think the second part is to give a reliable supply chain solution into our neighboring countries and making India as a center point of that whole supply chain. And that is the idea, that how rather than cargoes getting transshipped in Dubai or in Singapore, how do we make India as a center point of the overall supply chain from east to west? And that's where we are looking to play, to create that larger vision of making India as a center point. Wherever we do believe that we have to take a position, we are happy to take a position over there.
When the Hindenburg short seller attack happened, it must have taken a lot of management bandwidth and mind space away from chasing this vision. Now, how did you deal with it personally, and what role specifically did you play at that time?
So at that time, basically my responsibility was three things. One is obviously to make sure that business resilience continues, not just in ports but across the group, in terms of our performance, in terms of our operational efficiency, in terms of our capex efficiency. So that was number one. Second was to ensure that from a leadership perspective, we were completely aligned. There was no critical people leaving during this time, and they were ensuring that we were all working together to achieve the goal, to make sure that we weather the storm. And that's what that was a main priority, to make sure that whatever performance parameters that we have achieved in the past, we beat that during this period.
One overhang, even right now, is the kind of investigations or probes which are there into the company. And also at the same time, there are allegations regarding opaqueness in the holding structure. How do you assuage the investor concerns on this front?
See, I think if you look at from investor perspective, right, as a group, we went through this transition from 2007-8. So if you remember, in 2007-8, we had a holding structure. We had Adani Enterprise, and then we had all the other companies which were subsidiaries of it. And again, going back to getting feedback from the investors, they said that we would like to have a clean structure. And that's where we started demerging. So ports got demerged, Adani Power got demerged. So basically the shareholders who want to invest in ports, they know that they come into APSEZ, or investors who know that they want to only invest in energy, they know that they want to come into renewable. So one is, there is a clean structure from a holding perspective. So there is no crisscross holding which is happening. So it's a very clear structure. Family holds directly into each of these entities. Second is, when you look at from a family perspective, family holding perspective, all of that has been disclosed, because we have 23 or 25 international issues, bond issues across various group companies, again rated by all international agencies, investment grade rating. And part of it, unless you don't disclose all of this, there's not much of, you don't get through that hoops of getting that rating. All of that has been disclosed. And coming to investigations and other things, where the issue would come is if, as a group, we have not disclosed something. All the investigations that so-called Hindenburg report has been talking about is all disclosed, whether it is in our annual report, whether it is in our bond issuance, or whether it is in or any of our IPOs as well. So if you remember, before Hindenburg, just before Hindenburg, there were 2 IPOs which we did. I mean, demergers we did. One was the demerger of Adani Total Gas, and then the second is again the IPO of Adani Wilmar. Now all of this, SEBI will not give you clearance if you have certain issues going on.
Your father is a first-generation entrepreneur who, from the scratch, built one of the largest conglomerates in the region. When the transition happens, for you to step into his shoes, those are some pretty big shoes to fill. How will you go about it?
As you move from first gen to next gen, I mean, we realize that what they're leaving us behind is a sort of a legacy, as well as not just a business, but a platform which we have to protect and ensure that we pass on to the next generation as well. We also realize we can't work the way he is working, in the sense that his risk appetite is much higher than what ours is. So we realize where our shortfalls are, where our strengths are, and we work on our strengths, and whatever we have learned from him, all the wisdom that we have learned from him, we try to work on it on a day-to-day basis.
But hunger for growth is something which differentiates Adani Group from many others, as Mr. Gautam Adani has said. Now, risk appetite is a key part of it. Why are you saying that in the second generation, the risk appetite could be slightly
It is bound
less?
to happen, right? So this is evolution of life. First generation, you have grown from nothing. Your risk appetite is much higher, because even if you lose everything, you're back to where you had started. We are starting from a level which is something higher than what they have started. So we have a larger responsibility to make sure that we protect and to grow from there.
Mr. Gautam Adani has talked about the middle class values that the group espouses. Now, the second generation has mostly born into wealth. Is there a pressure to conform?
I would differ over there a little bit, because we've not been born into wealth. a large part of our childhood has been through a struggle as a family. It's just that in the last, 15, 20 years is what we see. But a large part of our childhood has been of struggle. We have seen our parents struggle everyday basis. We have seen them go through tough times as well as good times. We have seen them aspiring for more and working hard. And we have seen them dream together to reach to that aspiration. And we have also seen a lot of support from the larger family. And more importantly, valuing what we have.